Hi, I'm Lynn. Welcome to Cooking with Lynn. Welcome back if you've been watching, and welcome if it's the first time for you. I'm cooking for the Cumberland Library and back in my kitchen doing a quick, easy weeknight soup. Even though it's still a little warm outside, eventually it's going to get cold and we're going to want to make some soup. This is creamy tomato soup, and I'm going to do a grilled cheese sandwich. Most people probably know how to do grilled cheese, but I'm going to do it for you anyway, and maybe I'll help you out if you're having trouble with it. Sometimes people have trouble getting the cheese melty before the outside gets too brown, so just follow me and we'll get through it together. So I already started. I'm going to tell you what you need, and this is so tomato soup, you could open a can of tomato soup and just have tomato soup and grilled cheese, and sure, you can do that. I haven't found any canned ones that are all that flavorful, but you can always buy a can of tomato soup and kick it up a little bit with some other ingredients. But I'm going to do like one step above that. I'm not using fresh tomatoes. I'm going to use canned tomatoes. And so it's quick and easy, really, really quick and easy. But again, I mean, if you wanted to, if you're harvesting tomatoes right now and you want to use fresh tomatoes, by all means do that. I would cut them and squeeze out the seeds. You can either roast them, maybe with some garlic, or you can just put them in the pot and cook them down with some garlic, some onions, and some other flavors. And this one's going to have basil in it. And then you would just use an immersion blender or your blender to just make it creamy. So you could do that too. So there's all the way from opening a can to roasting your own tomatoes, cooking your own tomatoes. This is somewhere in between. Alright, so I've already cut up 2 onions. And I've got those sweating down. I threw some salt in there. I'm doing them in butter. I've got 4 tablespoons of butter in here. And they're really, really translucent and getting all nice and yellow with the butter and looking good. So I'm going to throw some garlic in there too. So we'll do that now. What else you'll need is, so I've got crushed tomatoes. Now these are already very crushed. And so they're not like tomatoes. So I probably could get away without using the blender, but I'm going to want to get those onions really pulverized so that they mix well. You're not getting chunks of onion. So I've got 2 cans, and you could pare this down to 1 if you don't want to make the recipe in half. So I've got 2. You want to use a good can of tomatoes. San Marzano is probably the best tomatoes to use, but because you know, this is all about the tomato, so you want it to be a good quality. You need chicken broth, salt and pepper. I've got some basil here, some fresh basil, garlic, and then we're going to make it creamy by putting heavy cream in it after, and some cheese, and then we'll make the grilled cheese. So I'm going to get this going, and then we'll get going on the grilled cheese. So what I'm going to add here now, you don't want to put the garlic in at the same time as the onions, because they'll cook, you know, too quickly, and they'll get garlic can get really bitter if you leave it in too long. So do that after, and you just want to leave it in for a minute to get it fragrant. Garlic doesn't take as long. Hello. You can cooperate with me. I've got 3 cloves. You know, if you don't like it, like any of the other recipes I've done, and I always say, if you don't like something, leave it out. You want more, put more in. Make it your own. I have something in my hair. Hope you can see me. I always struggle with the camera and the angle and making sure you can see everything, making sure you can hear me. So I've got that on low right now because I'm just going to chop up the garlic and get that in there. I do not want to cook my garlic on high because I don't want it to get burned and bitter. It doesn't taste good when it's been burned. So we're making grilled cheese. Probably one of the easiest things you can do sandwich-wise because it's got 3 things: bread, cheese, and butter. I have actually heard people using mayonnaise on the outside of the bread instead of butter. I tried that. I did not like it as much as butter. In my opinion, there's really no substitute for butter. So I'm chopping this way down, which is probably overkill because I am going to blend everything after, but I'm going to get that in there. Same thing with the onions. If you're going to use the blender or the immersion blender, you don't really need to go crazy cutting the onions, but they cook faster if they're smaller, so. And garlic is sticky. So just rinse that off. So I'm gonna put this up a little, get the garlic going just till you can smell it, till it's fragrant. Just cook it for about a minute. Hope you can see what I'm doing. All right, so super simple. Just slightly above opening a can for tomato soup. A little bit elevated, better tomatoes. You know, when you open a can of tomato soup, you don't know what they made it with. Got ingredients on the can, but you know, there's always preservatives in those and stuff like that. So just until you can smell. So I already added some salt when I put the onions in. That helps to sweat down the onions. So I've already salted, so I'm not going to salt again. And so I'm just going to add my tomatoes. It makes quite a bit. You know, obviously if you have a smaller family now, it's just me and my husband, but as usual I always make a vat of everything. But you know, maybe I'll take some to work. The nice thing about tomato soup and grilled cheese, you can dump the sandwich in there and get all that flavor together. I'm going to put cheese in the soup too. If you know me, you know I'm kind of a cheese lover. Alright, so that needs to go for a little bit. I gotta put the chicken stock in and the basil, and then we're gonna let it go, and then we'll do the sandwich. So I need 2 cups of chicken stock, chicken broth, chicken stock. Use low sodium. You want to control your own salt. This is a 1/2 cup measure, so I gotta do 4 of these. 3 and 4. The other thing I'm going to put in here, just to cut the acidity, is a little bit of sugar. You leave it out if you want, or you can put more if you want. We'll start with a tablespoon and see where that gets us. I'm kind of a sweetaholic, so I put sugar in my marinara, my pasta sauce, and you know, I just like it with a little bit of sweetness, cut the acidity. All right, and then I'm going to throw my basil in. I'm not going to throw it all in. I want to save a little bit for a little garnish on the top. But I'm going to just give it a rough chop. I'm going to get the stems off. And it's all about just the flavor, so get that in there. If you like basil, you'll love this. And actually, I cheated a little. My tomatoes have basil in them. So we're going to get all that basil goodness. Alrighty. And I'm going to add a little pepper. And just a teeny bit more salt, although it's probably going to need more. But you can always taste it. You can't take it out, so go easy. You can always add more later. So that's going to get going. We're going to let that simmer for about 10 minutes. That's all it really takes. Cook out that tomato rawness. And so I'm going to move this so you can see the grilled cheese cooking. Is this hot? Yes. While it simmers, I'm going to put it over here. And we'll do the grilled cheese here. There's only so much space I can get on the video here. So, what am I doing? So, you know, grilled cheese, bread, butter, usually American cheese. You can use lots of different kinds of cheese, obviously, different kinds of bread, excuse me. And there's, you know, so many things you can do to elevate an ordinary grilled cheese sandwich. You can put apples on it, you know, thinly sliced apples. You can put avocado. You can put some like fig jam or something like that in there. Some arugula. There's lots and lots of things. Different kinds of cheese. You can add some goat cheese to make it interesting. Tons and tons of things. Obviously, if you look up a grilled cheese recipe, you can find all kinds of different things. So this is going to be elevated a little bit because a little bit nicer bread, a little bit, I don't know. It's not American cheese, it's cheddar cheese. You can use spontina, anything melty, mozzarella. You can add a combination of things, Gruyere, lots of different things. So, you know, it's just your preference, whatever you like. American cheese is perfectly fine. I've got cheddar. So, over here, so I bought this bread at the sort of kind of like a specialty grocery store, Dave's Market. Everybody knows what that is. And they call it English muffin bread. I'd never heard of it. It looked really good. I sliced it up. I made the slices a little bit thick. You don't want to make them too thick because then it'll take longer for the cheese to melt. So, and the biggest thing about a grilled cheese is that cheese pull when you cut it and you pull it apart. So we're going to get the grill pan hot, or the saute pan hot. And I just bought some good cheddar cheese. Easy peasy. Let's see, I'm going to pick two that are not too thick. Get this over here. So you want your, this is wet, it's not good. You want your pan hot, but not like screaming, right? Because right away you'll burn the bread and then that's it. It's all over. And maybe somebody, you know, maybe you like it, the bread really toasty. How many slices of cheese? Well, go with your ratio of how thick the bread is. So, I mean, I normally would probably just put one and a half, maybe 2 pieces of cheese, but this bread is really thick, so you want a good ratio of cheese to bread. Have it sticking out a little. That should be good. And then we're gonna butter it. My soup is going good here. Sorry if I ramble. The brain goes and you start thinking of a million different things. So we're gonna butter it. Don't try to use fake butter. Use real butter. My husband likes that, I won't say the name, but when he says he prefers it, I don't get that. Butter is butter. So, obviously, we're going to stick it in there butter side down. Give it a little smush. Now you can, kind of like a panini, you can put something heavy on top of that to keep it smushed down so that it's making contact with the pan and getting all nice and grilled. So what I usually do is kind of smush it first before I put the butter on it, because if I smush it after, it's just gonna stick. Kind of give it a smush. Weigh it down if you want to put something heavy on top of it, and just wait for it to get all golden brown. Check out the soup. You can see it. The soup's bubbling away. Beautiful. Now I'm never going to get this back the way it was. Here's the struggle. Okay, I think we're good. Alright. You can peek at it if you're not sure. Yeah, it looks good. So I'm going to butter the other side now. And flip it. And you can flip it, you know, over and over again if you're not sure. Let the cheese kind of get the heat on both sides equally. Don't be shy with the butter. You can try mayonnaise. I tried it. I was not impressed. I don't know. Let's give it a flip. Okay, so that's a good start. Kind of golden. Cheese is starting to melt. I like to hang it over the edge a little because you can kind of start to see if the cheese is melting. You don't want burnt bread and raw cheese, you know, hard cheese that hasn't melted. And you don't want, I mean, I don't know if you could get melted cheese and uncooked bread, probably not. But I was always famous for just burning the bread and then having the cheese be not melted at all. And that happens if you have the stove, you know, too hot and you just burning the bread and nothing's happening on the inside. But I can already see getting some good meltage. I'm sure that's not a real word. It's starting to hit the pan over here. Probably have it a little too high. But I like to keep checking it just to make sure I'm not burning it. Don't walk away because you're going to make a grilled cheese and you're going to present somebody with burnt bread. Nobody likes that. Squish. push it down. So what we can do, let's see, can you see my other pot? You don't really need to see me, do you? I'm going to throw in my cream now. Now keep an eye on my grilled cheese. I'll turn this down. And let me just flip this one more time. That's looking really good. Alright, so we're going to throw our cream in there. I've got heavy cream. And I need a half a cup. And of course I can't get it open, because the struggle is always happening on camera. There we go. I'm going to throw a half a cup in. I'm going to take it off the heat. This is what makes it creamy. Alright. Alright. Before I burn this, watch. A little darker than maybe some people like, but I don't know. You tell me. It looks pretty darn good. Pretty melty. I think I'm having grilled cheese for breakfast because it's morning here and I'm only going to make one. Let me get this out of the way. Alright, and let's move this back over because I am going to use my immersion blender. Alright, so if you don't have an immersion blender, you know what? Captain all over the place, but I'm going to show you this lovely melty. This is what happens when you use a good melting cheese. So we've got a good gooey, yummy gooey, nice and toasty and ooey gooey. I'm going to take a bite. Oh my God, that's so good. Grilled cheese for breakfast, why not? Alright, back to the soup. Okay, immersion blender, focus. Hi. I hate this thing. Come on. Alright. This guy, you can use a blender, but if you do, don't overfill a blender with hot liquid, so be very careful with that. And this is as easy as it comes. These are not very expensive, so I want to get one for yourself. You can make any kind of a creamy soup. Just gonna whoa! Don't lift it out of the soup. There we go. It's got 2 speeds. Whoa, that's hot. There we go. It didn't require a lot of blending because I didn't have whole tomatoes in there, but it just mixed everything together and pulverized those onions a little bit. And there we go. Alright, so, I mean, look how easy that was. It's kind of crazy. I mean, how long did that take me? If I wasn't talking so much, it would have been a lot quicker. But yeah, I mean, creamy tomato soup is pretty much done. And we'll put it in a bowl. This is what I usually do. Plate, a bowl, put our sandwich, which I already, look at, cheese pull, and got the lovely, I'm not really going to eat all this because it's morning, as I said, but I'm going to, you can leave this out. I know not everybody likes Parmesan cheese. I have a sister that, Parmesan cheese to her is the worst thing ever. But I'm going to throw that on top. You can throw it right in the soup, which would maybe not be a preference of everybody. But, and then I'm going to just garnish a little basil. I mean, it almost seems too easy, really. But there you go. I mean, that's a great, quick, easy weeknight meal. You made it yourself. You didn't just open a can. And I'm gonna taste this. Hopefully it's not too hot, so I don't burn myself on camera. It's very hot. Oh my God, that's so good. The basil and the cheese. Look at the best part. Yummy. That's so good. And if it would ever actually be fall and be cool outside, we can enjoy soup more often, but anyway, it will get cold and you will want to eat something nice and warm, quick, easy weeknight meal. So that's pretty much it. I mean, how easy was that? So I hope you try it and make it your own, make your own version. Experiment with the grilled cheese, put some extra stuff in there, some apples, perfect time of year to do that. And I'll see you again soon. I'm doing pumpkin bars, which are really more like pumpkin cake with cream cheese frosting. And then we're gonna do another baking segment with my son in November. Not sure what he's baking, but we'll let you know. So come back and see us again. Check out all the other great things the library's doing, and we'll see you soon.